Hello everyone and welcome back to another very nice game from the FIDE Online World Corporate Championship where different companies are facing each other and some of them have extremely strong players, like we've seen in the previous one where Magnus Carlsen was playing for his Kindred group. Here we have Nepomniachtchi versus Pavel Anisimov. And both of them are very strong Russian Grandmasters. However, even though they are both very strong, Nepo is some over 250 rating points higher rated. Now, what does that mean in terms of actual moves? Well, let's check out what was played in this game and see. And usually, when you have such a drastic difference in rating, games tend to be pretty crazy, but sometimes the player with a lesser rating can really surprise and then completely crush a super grandmaster. And even though if you are new to chess, there is no such title as super grandmaster. Super grandmaster is something that we call someone who is maybe 2750 and higher, and with Nepo being almost 2800, I don't know, some 2789, he definitely is a super grandmaster in those terms, because it was a long time ago when the grandmaster title was first awarded, and then you needed 250 ELO rating points. But nowadays the ELO ratings are much higher, so there are a lot of grandmasters basically. So let's check out the game and see what happens here. So Nepo with the white pieces opens with e4, and Anisimov goes for e6. So he goes for the French defense, and Nepo, not being a stranger to the French himself, he employed it even in the candidates tournament and played some very nice games in the French. We have d4, d5, and now knight to c3. Defending the e4 pawn, we have d captures, knight captures, and now knight to d7, going for the Blackburn defense of the Rubinstein variation. Knight to f3, and now knight g to f6. So nicely developing. Nepo trades once, we have captures, and now knight to e5, the so-called Capablanca move. We have knight back to d7, now offering a trade of yet another pair of knights. And here there are a couple of moves that were played. Most famous one is bishop to f4. Timofeyev played it against the Ding Liren in the 2009 match between Russia and China, and the Ding was able to win that game with black. But here we have knight to c4. So here Nepo avoids the trade, and it is already as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. So he wants to keep a bit more material on the board and surprise his opponent a little bit. So knight back to f6. The knights are not getting traded, so the knight retreats to a more active square. Bishop to f4, continuing development, and now bishop to e7. Black now wants the castle. We have bishop to e5. Now that this knight is gone, the bishop can stay there. Can't really be challenged unless black wants to waste another tempo. But for the moment, that's impossible because the g-pawn would hang. So here we have castles and bishop to d3. And now, by avoiding this trade of knights, Nepo now has a nicely placed bishop pair here. The queen can easily enter the game, and it's still a question whether white will castle kingside or queenside, but chances are, as the attacking formation is present here, it will be a queenside castle. But there's still the question of this knight, what to do with it. And black makes it easy. Black immediately attacks it with b5, and Nepo just brings it back. We have knight to e3, and now c5, striking in the center. And black claims that he is now very happy by this central push, although it's a very dangerous push because white can capture on c5 without black being able to recapture. It's very dangerous because if you go for something like bishop captures on c5, then a lot of moves are possible. There's queen to f3, just going after this rook here, so you could do a lot of things. You could do bishop captures on f6, and after queen captures, a queen to h5 now, threatening checkmate, also going for that bishop on c5. And okay, you can play bishop to b4 check, then you can block with c3, and then, for example, g6, pushing back the queen. But then queen captures on b5, and it's a very fun game. But this is probably something like this is probably what black wanted. He wanted to give up some material to get an active play. But Nepo ignores it. After the c5, he goes queen to f3. Now puts pressure on the rook, and black needs to react to this. So first, c captures on d4. Anisimov sacrifices the exchange, and it would be very interesting if the rook is captured, but Nepo is not interested. He just plays queenside castles and now offers even more material. So what's the idea? Why is the knight being offered now? Well, it's a very it's very tricky, because now if captured, there's bishop captures on h7, and you might think, but that's a lot of pieces to give up for the queen. Yes, but your rook is still hanging, and after captures, captures, and captures, black has so many pieces, but the rook is still hanging, and once white captures that, then white has just enough of a winning material advantage. Even if you gain the passed pawn with this, it doesn't really matter. Queen captures, you're gonna pick that up, it's not a problem. So after this queenside castle, we have queen to a5. Now, again, with some threats of queen captures on a2, and again offering that rook on a8. So can the rook on a8 be captured now? Well, let's see what happens if you do. If you capture on a8, you get d captures on e3. Now, closing off the d2 square, and now you are being threatened. So what can you do here? If you go for bishop captures on f6, first queen captures on a2, threatens checkmate, and now you have to waste a move to capture here. F captures on e3, now bishop captures on f6, and it's again a very dangerous position to be in for white. You have to defend this somehow, probably c3 blocking this, and now also the bishop can help out with the defense here. But none of this happened, as after this queen to a5 move, attacking the a2 pawn, Nepo just played bishop captures on d4, and this is different now, because the b2 pawn is already defended, and capturing on a2 doesn't yield any results. Queen captures on a8 is now winning for white. Now after, for example, queen to a1 check, it doesn't really matter. King to d2, and there's no good move here. If you go queen to a5 check, c3 just blocking check, you're up so much material, it's completely winning for white. So instead, after bishop captures on d4, we have bishop to a6 now developing, and also now the rooks are connected, one defending the other, and now Nepo goes for the attack, knight to g4. And now he's trying to remove one of the defenders of the king side, then the bishop pair will definitely become fully operational. And now we have to see, can black finally capture this a2 pawn or not? What is this knight to g4 move even changing? Well, the problem now with queen captures on a2 is that you can just capture with check, and after bishop captures, you're gonna capture with the bishop. Now you're down a piece, you have to recapture, and after g captures, queen captures, yes, it seems like now black can start delivering some checks, but after queen to a1 check, there's really not much to do. King to d2, the queen is once again defending the b2 pawn, and after you deliver one check, c3, and it's looking very dangerous. For example, you can go rook f to d8, put some pressure along the d file, now threaten b4 to open up the light square bishop, but just b4, and white is very happy here. If queen to a2 check, even king to e3, so quite a crazy line. If rook to d5, trying to get the other rook into the game, now you start h4, and although very, very dangerous looking, white is simply much better here. You can go rook h3 to g3, that's game over. You can play h5 h6, that's also game over. So a lot to consider here. So even though it looks like you could do it, you actually can't. So here first we have knight captures on g4, queen captures on g4, now threatening checkmate, and now finally g6. And only now that black wasted a move to prevent checkmate, only now Nepo goes with king to b1, defending the a2 pawn. So here b4, now offering a trade of light square bishops here, and Nepo captures. It is the way to go. We have captures, and now h4. Now preparing to open up the h file with h5 and h captures on g6. So black prevents this. We have h5, and now queen to f4. Here Nepo makes room for the g pawn to march forward, and then he wants to open up the position. So queen to b5, now queen also helps out with the defense of the fifth rank, and maybe, just maybe, black will have enough time to maybe start pushing his a pawn, but it's a long way to go. So here Nepo continues, we have g4, and now rook a to d8. Abandoning any idea of pushing the a pawn, we have rook a to d8, and now comes queen to h6, and this is a pretty great move for white, because now it's a very questionable. What do you even play here for black? the absolute best is rook captures on d4, and then after rook captures on d4, I mean, you have to do something as checkmate is being threatened. So rook captures is the way to go. You play rook captures, and then you shift the bishop over here, bishop to f6. You can use it for defensive purposes, but also for attacking purposes. And even though white is better here, it was the move if you were to prolong the game, because like I said, it's a rapid game, it's a 10-minute game, so better to survive as long as possible. But here Anisimov played e5, and although this blocks checkmate momentarily, it blunders the game in a different way, because now white's attack is unstoppable. So feel free to pause the video here and win the game for Nepo while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on not doing anything weird like moving the bishop. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's g captures on h5. This is the only winning move, and now black really is in trouble. And there's not much you can do. If you capture on h5, it's just game over. Rook h1 check, rook g1 check, and there's nothing to do. You can block with the bishop, and then rook captures is checkmate. So obviously after g captures on h5, you have to try something else. Anisimov played rook captures on d4, but it's simply not enough. H captures on g6, now threatening checkmate. We have rook captures on d1 with check, trading off a pair of rooks first to get the other rook away from the h file, but now f captures on g6. But now the white queen can do whatever the white queen wants, as the king is pretty much helpless, so we'll be able to only go back and forth. So here queen captures on g6 with check, king to h8, and now rook to g1. There are a lot of winning ideas here. Rook to g1 is only one of them, and it was in this position on move 28 that Pavel Anisimov resigned the game, and a very nice victory for Nepomniachtchi. You resign because there's no defense. This is checkmate, this is checkmate, this is checkmate. Well, all of this is checkmate, and there's really there's no move that even prolongs mate, like unless you want to play something like queen to f1. Sorry about missing so many arrows, but for some reason chess.com decided that it was important to be able to do this arrow. I have no idea why, but you know, it is pretty weird. You couldn't do that like when they were starting out. But yeah, chess is weird like that sometimes. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As you've seen, it's not as if Nepo just completely obliterated Pavel, even though he is over 250 rating points higher rated. But it was a very clean game, and in 28 moves, that's well, in today's age, you know, in 2021, this can definitely be considered even a miniature, because you know, in Morphy's era, you know, games up to 15 moves, maybe 20 moves were considered miniatures. But nowadays, with the you know, the use of engines, and everyone has all the lines prepared up to move 20, we have to consider a miniature anything maybe even below 30 moves, but it's up for discussion definitely. So yeah, that's the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Try using hashtag suggestion if you have some of your own favorite games here, because it's impossible for me to go through all of them. But if you know, stumble upon a great one, do share it. I will definitely show it. So yeah, once again, thank you all for watching. I would like to thank Franco Moore, Len Herbert, James Boslett, Michael Salviani, and David Kimura for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Morphy saga, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.